I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hey everybody, thank you for joining the show tonight. You are watching the Cryptid Podcast. As always, I am your host, Dan Hamilton, and I just want to let you guys know I have got an amazing guest tonight. I got Jimmy on the line. Now, Jimmy's from Arkansas, but he does a lot of investigation in southeast Oklahoma. Jimmy has provided some amazing audio for us to listen to during this podcast episode, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, I'm super excited. I've listened to all of it, and all I can say is, yes, one of these audios, actually two of the audio clips, left my jaw dropped. I mean, like, for real. It was some awesome audio. Again, I just want to say, I always say it, but thank you so much for your support, everyone. Thank you for popping on my episodes, watching however long you watch them. Thank you for all the subscriptions that you guys give me, the likes, the shares, the comments. I appreciate them. I read every comment. I try to reply to every comment. If I don't reply, I usually give you a thumbs up and a heart. So I try to be active just to validate your guys' comments, so let you know that I truly appreciate you guys coming on and taking the time out to leave those comments. I truly appreciate it. Now, always understand, guys, that not everybody's able or feel comfortable about coming onto a podcast and sharing their experience. And so if you'd like to email me your experience, you can email me at the cryptidpodcast72@gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to put it into a format to where I can read it for you and get your story out there. You'll remain completely anonymous if that's what your wish is. If you'd like to come on the show and share your encounter, again, email me at the cryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. If you don't want to be on camera, I can accommodate you there. Or if you want to be on camera like Jimmy's going to be here in just a moment, we can accommodate you there as well. So without further ado, let's bring our next guest on, Jimmy. Jimmy, how's it going, buddy?
Going good. Going great.
So let me ask you a couple of things. I'm not going to get into the details. So when you recorded this audio and you got a chance, I mean, hearing it live must have been amazing. But knowing that you were recording it and then you get back home to review it or later on to review it, how excited were you knowing that you caught that audio?
Oh, I tell you, it's always really great whenever I'm actually able to catch some of this audio, because to be quite honest, I was using just a cell phone to record all the audio that night. In fact, it's what I've used on most of my investigations to record audio, is just a cell phone. But whenever it comes out and I'm actually able to review it really well, I mean, it's amazing. Some of the stuff that I see in like a spectrograph filter, you can pinpoint places in there and more easily identify some of these things. And it's really interesting seeing how these things light up in there, and then hearing it. It's like, wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, and so you guys, when we play these audio clips, you're going to get to see exactly what he's talking about. You can see where these noises hit. And I find it fascinating, because then you know something big's going on. Prior to all of this, because you started seeing or encountering things in 2022, before 2022, was Bigfoot even on your radar?
Sort of. Ever since I was a kid, I just, I thought maybe there's something, out there, like an ape or something, that's out there stomping around. And I, like most people, I thought it was just one of them, up in the north or something, But I had no idea until a lot later. A friend of mine, him and his family usually play at this music festival in Penobi, Oklahoma, and they have like Bigfoot stuff over there. So
Yes,
that's
they
whenever
do.
I first found, yeah, that's whenever I first found out about it. And my dad wanted to, do a little father-son camping trip out there. So we did that, and we from then on, we talked to Tanya, who owns the Bigfoot Museum over in Tallahena, Oklahoma. And after that, I went to some conferences that were being held. I learned a lot about Bigfoot in that area, and it's that's when I kind of got hooked because I saw more scientific evidence,
Yeah.
of it, just, tales,
Right. So you guys, you know what? We've been John too long. I want Jimmy just to jump in and let's start off where it all began for you in 2022.
right? Yeah. So basically, uh, in 2022, I had not really been investigating a whole lot, but this was like my first real good investigation. I went to this one place I call Oklahoma's Area 51. And that night, whenever I'd set up camp, I was by myself. Um, I was just sitting there in this one area, and there was lots of nature sound around, bugs and frogs and all that kind of stuff, making a bunch of racket. But then it was kind of weird. It was like there was this cone of silence or something traveling through this area. I was camped in between two dry creek beds, and I was kind of just sitting there looking in this one area because I noticed there was a pretty good path that went down into the creek bed. And I heard something big uh, moving through that. And as it was moving through that, a lot of the nature sounds were quieting down. And then in front of my vision, I saw a huge shape of some sort, a tall shape, go past, and that thing must have been maybe 9 feet tall to be as big as it was. And then it moved on, and it scared the snot out of me. I jumped up out of my chair and got in my vehicle and just kind of sat there, kind of like, I wasn't sure what to think. I was thinking, oh crap, this is gonna be this is gonna be my first and last trip out here probably. But nothing bad happened. It just spooked me real good, and that was the first encounter I had out there.
Okay, so that would lead us into 2023, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, now there are 3 audio clips involved with this encounter. And what do you call this encounter?
Well, now the 3 audio clips, those are from 2024, but the this first one is I call this one the Wahoo encounter because this one is whenever I actually saw one. And
Okay. So this is in 2023, and this is an area that I believe you and some of your other people you go out with, you call this area Xanadu.
no, this one's still in Area 51. The Xanadu one is the newest one. It's the 2024 one.
It, so that's the 3 audio clips.
Yeah, Xanadu is the 3 audio clips.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So we are talking about, okay. So what do you call this area in Oklahoma?
Yeah, I call it Oklahoma's Area 51. And that's because there's just so many strange things that happen out there. Lots of weird stuff I've encountered and seen. But yeah, whenever the Wahoo sound I heard, that was pretty interesting.
So
Um,
let me go ahead and play that clip. It's
okay.
22 seconds long. And then go ahead. I'm not going to interrupt you. Just go ahead and talk about that entire encounter. And then when we're ready to roll into 2024, just go ahead and roll right on into 2024.
All right.
I heard. Ooh, that's a different sound.
Okay, so yeah, that is the Wahoo sound. A lot of people had in that area in the Bigfoot community have heard that. And basically, me and my dad were just sitting out there. We were talking about nature, the world, space, all kinds of stuff. And I felt this urge to tell him to hold on a second, to quiet down for a second, because I felt like something was going to happen. Really weird. Never felt that before. Um, and then that wahoo sound happened, and it came from an area where um, previously there was somebody who had an encounter in that area, and there was nobody around for miles. I made sure of that that night. And then about an hour, close to an hour later, we heard something stomping in the woods on the other side of us from where the wahoo sound happened. And we ran out there with our flashlights, pardon me, and we're looking around, and then that's whenever my flashlight landed on him. And he was about 6.5 to 7 foot tall, dark brown, greasy hair. And I say greasy, could be oily, but basically, it wasn't, real clean looking. Um, and he was walking away. He was probably, I would say, 20 to 30 feet away. This is at night, but I was certain of what I was seeing. And he was walking away from us, and so I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got to get a video of this." So I put down my flashlight, you know, get my phone, and I'm like looking through, trying to get to the photo app. I'm kind of shaking and everything just because I'm so surprised at what I'm seeing. And by the time I got the photo app up and everything, he had already disappeared. I don't know if he went down on all fours and crawled away, or what happened, or they're masters of their environment. But basically, he disappeared. I'd seen him for probably 5 seconds before I decided to do that, and I could still hear him walking. And with each stride though he was taking, he was covering quite a bit of distance just from every footstep you heard. I mean, he must have had a 4 or 5 foot stride going on. And, I really wish I had chased after him a little bit more. But I figured, the area between me and him was very thick with a lot of briars and stuff. He was in a more of a cleared out area that didn't have as many briars. So uh, we just thought, well, I guess we'll just head back to camp. And at about that time is whenever that whoop sound happened. Whenever we started to head back to camp, we were a quarter of a mile away from camp, because I mean it was a pretty good path that we were on whenever we ran out there. I was trying to find them, and on the way back there was that whoop sound, and I mean it was. I think what that is basically they're saying to any other ones in that area that, hey, they're coming back. Let's head out of here. And I think the Wahoo sound may have been just them testing us. I guess I don't know, to see if how we would react. Maybe to see if we're violent, or if we'd just trying to scare us or something, make us run around acting crazy. Uh, but yeah, the other one I think was spying on us that time, just to kind of observe us, and then we heard them, and yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
Okay, so let's get into the final um, encounter that you had in the area called Xanadu.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's that was interesting. I was as the Hanobi Bigfoot conference that was going on, and this was the last day of it. So we were camping in this area, me and Brian Terrell, from Red Dirt Cryptid Investigations, and we were sitting there, and it was about, I think it was like midnight, about midnight that we heard this sound, and we imagine these guys were coming across a creek. But if you want to go ahead and play that one, the first one there.
I wonder if you might call.
Yeah, and in that, I believe what that is, the woo kind of thing, I believe that is a location call. I believe there were about 4 of these things, and they were coming across a creek, and they were trying to locate each other. And you could hear that one voice on there saying, I think I'm going to do my call. That was Eric Trader. He was camping with me and Brian Terrell, and he was wanting to do his call, but we were like, hold on, we got to finish recording, this audio and everything to, see what's going on here, because and they were coming towards us is the thing, and it was pretty interesting. But if you play the next clip, I'll tell you what that's about there.
Pretty interesting. That's why I like it.
So
Man.
with those, they were closer to us. They were about, it seems like they were about 50% closer to us than where they were last time.
Let
And
me ask
after
you,
Mhm.
what was the time frame between audio clip number 1 and audio clip number 2? Were you, did you stop, wait like an hour or so, or were they like, there they were, you kind of stopped for a second, you might have reviewed the audio, and then you started recording again, and then there it is again?
Yeah, so whenever we first the first uh calls that we heard, we were sitting there, and after they quit communicating, we were still sitting there in silence for, probably like 5 or 10 minutes. And then we just kind of discussed, what was going on there. And I wanted to go and see if I could go down there to them and see him. And he was like, you don't really want to go down that way. And it's true, because it's a kind of a treacherous kind of area going down into there. Lots of stuff you can hurt yourself on. But and then I would say probably 20 minutes or so had passed between that and that second batch of calls. And yeah, after that happened, we were looking around the area trying to figure out, because like they called, and then we couldn't hear anything. And we looked around the area and just trying to see where they could have gone. We were kind of anticipating them coming into camp, because where we were at, we were on top of a ridge, and below us was a river or a creek, and they could have probably went around us. That's what I'm guessing they did, obviously.
Hmm.
I thought at one point, like, we had our thermal cameras out too, and I thought at one point I had captured one, I had a FLIR Scout camera, and I thought I'd captured one on that FLIR Scout, but I can't get the video. There's something wrong with it. It was one I was borrowing from a friend. I can't get the video of that thing off of that FLIR Scout onto a computer,
Mm,
probably because I'm using Linux and I don't have the right drivers.
mm,
Um, but if I had Windows, it would work correctly. But yeah, so I thought I may have caught one on there. I can't say for certain, but
yeah.
that's yeah, and it go ahead.
So let's get ready for audio clip number 3. To you guys, if you're watching this, because I do post to Spotify as well. Um, you won't be able to see it on Spotify, so you're gonna have to come over here to YouTube to check it out. You can, I mean, they've isolated it, and it'll let you know when you hear what you hear and who it is or what it is. So get ready for audio 3. Okay, so you hear him kick in, and then he prolongs for a little bit after that, and all of a sudden now you hear the coyotes
Yeah.
start
Well,
kicking off as well. Because at first, when I first
yeah,
heard it, when he first started, it sounded kind of like an elk bugle in a way,
yeah,
and I'm like, I go, is that an elk? And then shortly after that, you start hearing a little bit of coyote noise, and then you hear something that's obviously not coyote noise.
yeah.
Yeah, that is so cool. And you guys, I'm telling you right now, when I upload this to Spotify, please check out the YouTube channel so you could get a visual on what you're seeing, because honestly, it just makes that audio so much more better. It makes it a lot more interesting to see and hear the audio at the same time. So you're actually getting to see the audio. You're getting to see the inflections and everything like that. So yeah. So when you recorded that, I think that part was more better
Yeah.
than audio clips 1 and 2. But no, seriously, when you captured that, I mean, what were you thinking?
Well, that's really an interesting thing right there, is because I'm kind of lucky I recorded that one or caught that one, because that occurred at 6:30 in the morning, and I'd gotten up early to leave to go to work because I had to be at work that morning, and I worked 4 hours away from where we were recording, so I was packing up and everything, and getting ready to leave. And And then I started hearing that, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And at first, I thought, whenever I first heard some of that, I thought it was just coyotes. Even that kind of bugly sounding thing. I have heard that a lot of times in the Area 51 area, and it'd be just one thing making that sound, and then it just over and over again in some areas. Now, it could be a coyote, it could be a wolf. I don't think it's an elk.
Okay, I'm
I don't
gonna
think there's any.
while you
Mhm.
and I are talking, I you can keep talking about the Area 51 and stuff. I'm just gonna ask Google a real quick question. Um, are there a population of elk in southeast Oklahoma. And let's see what it
Or
says.
maybe. But yeah, then I heard that siren kind of sound happen, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And being there in person, hearing it, it was coming from the opposite direction of where the previous two audio clips were coming from. On a place that my friend Brian thinks is kind of a little small mountain that he thinks that maybe the Bigfoot reside on, and that was uh, that was whenever that siren part happened, you could hear the coyotes running off. It sounded like, and it was so weird because you could hear in person the sound moving of these coyotes as they were yelping and everything,
Yeah.
moving away.
Okay, so according to the old Googleator, yes, there are elk in southeast Oklahoma,
Yeah.
including the Pushma. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that. Pushmataha wildlife management area,
Yeah.
and also in private lands is it Caddo, Caddo,
Oh
Comanche,
yeah,
and
cat.
Kiowa
Yeah.
counties. Yeah, so it's Caddo, Comanche, and Kiowa counties. There are private their herds in private land. So, I mean, so that very well could have been an elk in that area,
Yeah.
according to the old Googleator. Yeah. So that's still very interesting that you hear that, and then a few seconds later, you hear that, and then all of a sudden the coyotes start kicking off. But if you listen close enough, you know, the reported Bigfoot is still he's still very vocal, even when all those coyotes are kicking off, when they start yapping. So so how often do you go out into, I'll call it, your area 51 and in this Xanadu area?
The Xanadu one, I don't go too much. Partly because I just like to leave that to the other investigators, and because the Area 51 place is where I started out at, and
Yeah.
I like to kind of I feel like I may have kind of made myself more of a familiar with whatever's out there.
Yeah.
Um, I think they're more familiar with me out there. Now I do know that there's two big old black bears that are about twice my size out there. But what I saw that one night in 2023, that was no bear of any sort.
Yeah. I mean,
It was
I think the biggest a male black bear, I think standing on their hind legs, I think tallest they get is like 8 feet, um, maybe a little shorter. And I think they can weigh in excess of what, maybe 600 pounds. I could
probably.
be. I mean, if I looked, I can give you an exact number, but I just don't see the way you described as it moving. You know, we all know we've seen black bear, especially black bear, because those are the ones you see in the circus more often. When they stand up, their front paws are like this,
Hmm.
and they kind of do like this motion because they don't their hips they don't have the motion to walk like we do, or Bigfoot or
Yeah.
Sasquatch does. So, um,
And this thing had a wide back. I mean, he was probably 4 foot wide on his back, close to it at least.
yeah,
And bears, they're kind of, they don't have wide backs. They have little, their arms are closer in,
yep,
because they're always pushing up with their feet to keep themselves up, so they
yeah.
don't really have the kind of shoulder breadth that an ape or a human does.
Mm,
And
they
this
don't.
thing, it was wide, and it had a lot of muscle to it too,
Yeah.
a lot of muscle.
So let me ask you this. So, in the grand scheme of things, and everything that you've encountered, stuff that you've seen, um, what do you think Bigfoot is?
Well, Quite honestly, from all the research and everything I've done, I believe Bigfoot. I believe the DNA studies that Melba Ketchum did. I believe those are authentic. I've spoken to her about them too. Um, and I believe it is something half human and possibly half what would actually be termed gibberine, not Nephilim, but gibberine. The
Okay.
gibberine are the offspring of the Nephilim from the Bible,
Yeah.
because the
Okay.
Nephilim are actually the fallen angels. They're not
Right.
the ones that are the hybrids. But I think this is some distant relative of that, honestly.
Okay. So, we're coming close to the end of the interview, but I'm going to kind of throw a teaser out there. As a lot of people are going to find out shortly within the coming weeks, I have started encompassing UFO encounters as well. And the reason I've been doing that is because you do hear a lot of stories and a lot of encounters of people who have seen Sasquatch or believe they've seen Sasquatch, but then in the same, almost in the exact same encounter, maybe not in an instant, but later on, they encounter some weird lights or an actual what they believe to be a UFO. So there is some, there is some, what's the word I'm looking for? There is some validity to the relationship between this. Now, again, I'm not saying that they're interstellar beings or they're interdimensional beings. They don't. I'm not saying that they walk through portals and they phase in and out of fabrics of time because I've never experienced it. But in this genre, in this community, um, the probability is there. So, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because Jimmy, what else have you seen in the Area 51 of Oklahoma?
Yeah, I have seen UFOs. In fact, one UFO I saw was literally where me and a friend were testing out some equipment at, just about an hour before we saw the UFO, and it was coming out over this highway, and it was probably the best one I've ever seen. We
Okay,
didn't get it on camera or anything.
let's leave it right there because you guys,
Okay.
I'm going to ask Jimmy to come back on a part two. So, Jimmy, I'm extending the invitation right now. Would you be willing to come on again for a part two so we can hear these UFO encounters?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Awesome. So, before we go, what words of advice do you have for anybody that's decided, you know what? I'm going to go out and look for Bigfoot. Any words of advice for those people?
Well, honestly, what I would do is, of course, I would look to see if there, how many encounters are in your area, if they are in your area. But just go out there and you'll have to camp at night, probably. Usually to have an encounter. That's been my experience at least. But if you hear something moving, don't run off. Just stick with it and try to brave through it. And don't have a whole lot of people with you. Four is usually the maximum that I would have with me if I were looking. But they like to be near bodies of water, and they do like wooded areas. Uh, and usually a crescent moon or a new moon is the best time to find them because they do hunt. And whenever there's a new moon, it's they can get they have more of a tactical advantage on prey, um, to get them and everything because with a full moon, it's easier to see, and with a new moon, it's a lot harder. So that's also what I've found there.
Awesome. Some solid advice, guys, from Jimmy himself, who's been out there investigating, boots on the ground, seeing stuff, hearing stuff. That's all I can do. So, Jimmy, if you could hang out in the lobby for me, We'll chat a little bit after that. That'd be great. You guys, again, Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on the show. You guys, that is our show for tonight. I just want to say again, thank you so much for Jimmy coming on, sharing those encounters, and I can't wait to have him back on a part 2. You know, guys, again, it takes a lot for people to come on to a podcast, talk with me, and share their encounters to perfect strangers and opening themselves up. So always understand that, it takes them a little bit to come on. Some people may not speak as fluidly as other people, because you got to understand sometimes some of these encounters are pretty traumatizing. And by talking about them, they're reliving it. So, just be kind in the comments when you view not just my episodes, but anybody's episodes. I can't get off here without saying what my buddy Josh always says. Remember, everybody, always stay prayed up. And as I like to say, remember, a legend always starts with what? A sighting. That's the show for tonight, everybody. Have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you soon.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?